$30 million guaranteed. That is a fantastic it's a fantastic contract.
That's good agency.
His agent is fantastic.
DK Metcalf on one side, GP on the other.
NFL free agency finally broke open like a clogged spillway, finally coming free. And notice I said spillway, not compacted large intestines. Now it started on Friday night with Geno Smith and the Seahawks trading him to the Raiders. It continued on Sunday with the DK Metcalf trade, the Rams signing Davante Adams and Myles Garrett's unexpected return to shit-tick Cleveland. And then, when the tampering period officially opened up at 12 p.m. Eastern on Monday, we watched as the Bears added more offensive line depth. The Lions made a huge splash with corner DJ Reed. The Buccaneers secured Chris Godwin for 3 more years. And the big one today, slinging Sam Darnold is heading to Seattle, where he's extremely excited to throw 250 passes towards JSN. The Broncos are spending money again in free agency, and that feels nice. And Justin Fields going to the Jets. Let's dive in. Here on That's Good Sports. Today's episode is sponsored by Element. What is Element? It's an electrolyte drink that doesn't have a bunch of sugar in it. Some of those other sports drinks out there have over 30 grams of sugar in them. Even if you're mildly health conscious, you know that's not good. If you're like me, you prefer to get your sugar from kisses from your wife. That's right, I love my wife. Each Element pack has a perfect dose of electrolytes, free of sugar, artificial colors, all of the stuff you don't want in your body. Element has several flavors that you can try. And if you're someone who likes salty and sweet combos, you will love Element. They add salt to their mix for active people to hit optimal sodium ranges. I'm not going to pretend like I know what those ranges are. I mix Element in with my daily greens drink, so you know, it doesn't taste like I'm drinking a salad. You can try all of the flavors when you get your free Element sample pack with any purchase, but you can only get that through my link below, drinkelement.com/TGS. Raspberry, chili mango, and citrus salt are my top 3 flavors. Again, you only get a free sample pack with my link, and that's for new or current customers. So if you already get Element, you can use my link to get free samples. You can try it risk-free, and if you don't like it, they will refund your order, no questions asked. And since free agency technically hasn't started, we can still hit 715,000 subs by the time free agency starts. Don't forget to subscribe here. Come on. Come on. I bet you thought I forgot about Dre. Well, I didn't. Coming in at the wire, the Broncos have signed Dre Greenlaw, former 49ers linebacker. Holy shit. I was about to upload the video. I saw this, sneaking it in. Look, the Broncos needed a linebacker. They lost out on everyone, but now, per Ian Rappaport, they're getting standout linebacker Dre Greenlaw, 3-year deal worth $35 million. Cody Barton left. So this is a huge get for Denver. I love this. Myles Garrett. I got duped. You got duped. Garrett duped us all. He said he wanted to play for a winner. He demanded a trade, delivered one of the most adamant trade requests we've seen in a while, and then accepted a 4-year extension with the Cleveland Browns that will pay him $40 million per year, including $123 million fully guaranteed. Myles Garrett is one of the best defensive players in the NFL, period, year in and year out. Under normal circumstances, I would applaud this move, but the Browns are not operating under normal circumstances, are they? Now, would I play for a loser for $123 million guaranteed? Yes, I would. I don't blame Garrett for accepting that kind of cash to end his career in Cleveland with 0 chances at winning a Super Bowl. If you spend enough time in the darkness, it becomes normal, and I think that's where Garrett's at. I'm more certain, though, than ever that the Browns will draft Shedeur Sanders with pick number 2, and they will throw him into the fire this season. And no, the Browns trading for Kenny Pickett does not change my mind, but Cleveland Kenny will be in line to start some games next year. I believe that. Garrett certainly makes the Browns a more competitive football team this year and next year, but they had a chance to reset their roster, accumulate destiny-changing draft capital, and rebuild the right way as they wait out their Watson contract. And they instead chose no man's land and decided to not take advantage of Garrett's incredibly high value. I think the haul for Myles Garrett in this free agency cycle, where there was no true #1 elite Hall of Fame caliber edge rusher, would have been game-changing for Cleveland. Now, the Patriots had the most cap space heading into free agency, and they got to spending. Now, they started by reuniting Harold Landry with Mike Vrabel to help fill a big void in the pass rush department, which feels like the most predictable and level-headed move of all of free agency so far. Landry missed the entire 2022 season with a torn ACL, but returned to play all 17 games the last 2 seasons while racking up 19.5 sacks for a team that basically never, ever, ever has the lead. Pretty impressive. Now, not impressive enough for the Titans, I guess, but this is a good move for New England, who needs to stack both sides of the trenches. New England may have also executed the biggest steal in free agency. Eagles defensive tackle Milton Williams appeared destined for the Panthers.
Shefty reported they're working a finalized deal with Milton Williams. So you're saying...
Not done yet. Not done yet.
Is it going to get done?
Source off!
Oh, shit.
And in a mini plot twist, it was later announced that the Patriots landed the highly coveted defensive lineman and Patrick Mahomes killer to a 4-year, $104 million deal, making Williams the highest paid player in Patriots history on a per-year basis. It will be over the $25 million per year to break Tom Brady's stupid record. And while most of the possible free agent linebackers returned to their home teams, the Patriots also signed Raiders linebacker Robert Spillane, another very good signing for the Patriots. The Raiders weren't good, but Spillane was. And I know that, watching him as a Broncos fan. A couple big-name corners found new homes. The Pats signed Carlton Davis to a 3-year deal. Davis broke his jaw last year, which was just one of 3,600 confirmed injuries on the Lions' defense. The Lions actually received a tax break from the government this year since they legally had to register as a state hospital. My take on Davis is he's a bit inconsistent. Great one week, dicey the next. Never bad by any means, but I like the move for the Patriots because they have a true lockdown #1 corner in Christian Gonzalez, and David is as solid a #2 as you could hope for. No fiber in his game. That said, I think the Giants got the better deal in landing Saints corner Paulson Adebo, who broke his leg last year trying to run away from the crumbling organization that is the Saints. But good pickup for the Giants. Davante Adams chose the LA Rams. He smartly selected the best team on the West Coast, and this was one of the more pleasant surprises in the pre-free agency frenzy. It's a 2-year deal at $46 million, which is not bad at all, and I love that Davante finally chose to play with a quarterback who wasn't also his best friend. Now, I respect the loyalty Adams has shown, but it's blown up in his face 2 times now. I do find it a tad interesting that the Rams got rid of Cooper Kupp to replace him with an older receiver, but Adams is generally healthier than Kupp. The Rams are also bringing back Jimmy Garoppolo to reunite with Adams, so let's hope Stafford also stays healthy, because if Jimmy G has to start games, I can see that hamstring injury Adams had with the Raiders last year flaring right back up. Oh, yeah.
I gotta get the fuck out of here before I lose my fucking life. I'm tired of this fucking bullshit.
The Chicago Bears are spending money like the world is ending. Wait, what do they know? They continue to add to their offensive line, signing the best center in this round of free agency in Falcons' Drew Dalman, a 3-year deal worth $42 million. Dalman has been considered a top 5 center in the NFL for the last 2 seasons. In one-on-one protection, Dalman was the 5th best in the league. It puts him in the same company as Chiefs center Creed Humphrey. The surprise here was seeing Broncos center Luke Wattenberg at #1. Hell yeah. I think this shows the Bears care a lot more about Caleb Williams than the Falcons do Michael Penix. Watch in a reverse of roles as we see Penix get penetrated over and over again in 2025. Now, after signing guard Joe Thuney and trading for guard Jonah Jackson a couple weeks ago, the interior of the Bears' offensive line is starting to look pretty good for Caleb Williams heading into year 2. Perhaps Ben Johnson knows what he's doing. This should also help the Bears transform from one of the worst running teams between the guards in the league to respectable. The goddamn Bears just might be goddamn respectable again. Dalman wasn't the only Falcon that the Bears stole. They also signed Grady Jarrett to a 3-year, $43.5 million deal after the Falcons surprisingly released Grady Jarrett this morning. This is a great veteran addition to the Bears' defensive line, and Chicago is clearly aiming their focus at rebuilding in the trenches on both sides of the ball, which, if you recall, worked for the Detroit Lions. They also added edge rusher Deo Odenigbo with a 3-year, $48 million deal. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me $32 million fully guaranteed. Am I going to just leave you with a Harry Belafonte reference and say nothing else on the matter? Yes. Yes, I am. I didn't work all night on a drink of rum for nothing. I am happy for the Buccaneers and Chris Godwin, but Jesus Christ, am I sick of all these exciting players sticking with their current teams? There's too much loyalty in the NFL this offseason. Too much, I say. The Buccaneers keep receiver Chris Godwin for 3 years at $66 million, $44 guaranteed.
There's a lot of guys who took less money to stay. I mean, Chris Godwin, from my understanding, left about $20 million on the table.
Holy shit. Everybody hates moving, Rap. Everybody hates moving.
I would assume somewhere like New England was offering him that kind of cash. But the Buccaneers get to bring back one of the best number 2 wideouts in the NFL for half of what DK Metcalf just got on his extension. Godwin was on pace for well over 1,000 yards last season, putting up 576 through 7 games before that season-ending injury on Monday Night Football. A big reason Tampa was able to sign Godwin, bring back Lavonte David, and make a minimal commitment to edge rusher Hassan Reddick is because they gave Baker Mayfield a smart contract. The exact opposite of what we are seeing with who is it? Oh yeah, Baker's former team, the Browns. It's very cool to see Chris Godwin take a discount to return and play with Baker. Mike Evans stuck with Baker after we thought he would be leaving last year. And Odell Beckham Jr., who let his father shit all over Baker, what deal did he sign? Oh yeah, that's right, an exclusive tender with a defense attorney for the Diddy case. Allegedly. Which team will get more out of their new tackle? The Chiefs or Titans? The Titans made a big splash at left tackle, inking former Steeler Dan Moore to a 4-year, $82 million deal. Now the Chiefs addressed their glaring hole at left tackle by signing 49ers backup Jalen Moore, who has played well when needed on the field. It's a 2-year deal for $30 million for Moore with 21 guaranteed. So I think Kansas City definitely got the better deal with a ton of upside if this fixes their issue of Mahomes' blindside. The Titans paid a lot more for a proven player. Dan Moore just benefited from being a very average tackle at the right time. I am the Dan Moore of sports YouTubers, by the way, and I want the exact same thing to happen to me one day. Tennessee probably overpaid for Dan, and Kansas City got an incredible value to protect a quarterback who knows how to avoid pressure already, something the Titans don't currently have. Okay, but this does allow last year's 7th overall pick J.C. Latham to move over to right tackle where he played in college. If Tennessee is going to use their first overall pick on Cam Ward, and this kind of feels like it does, then this is a no-brainer move for the Titans to at least get a level of competency at the most important position on their offensive line. Overpaying for an on-par left tackle is not a bad thing. Also, every left tackle is going to look significantly better when you're not protecting one Dangerous Wilson anymore. Every time Russell Wilson switches teams, a left tackle gets his wings. The Lions may have lost Carlton Davis, but they added arguably the best available corner in free agency in former Jet DJ Reed, or as he's known in the New York club scene, DJ Literacy. No relation to DJ Reader, by the way, who I made this exact same joke about 4 years ago. You hated it then, and you're gonna hate it again, and you're gonna keep fucking hating it because I like it. Everyone knows wordplay is the highest form of comedy. Now, Reed can come in and be the #1 corner for the Lions as hopefully Terrion Arnold starts to develop into his equal. Some may argue Reed didn't play well last season. I'd argue that entire defense and team as a whole took a big step backwards after the team fired Robert Saleh. Woody Johnson isn't just a name. It's a promise to get fucked. Speaking of...
Justin Fields is going to the New York Jets on a 2-year, $40 million deal that includes $30 million guaranteed.
Garrett Wilson will once again be catching passes from his Ohio State teammate. Now you can trace this deal all the way back to 2021, when now Jets GM Darren Muji was in Denver and was interested in Justin Fields for that draft. The Broncos, of course, opted to select Pat Surtain, future Defensive Player of the Year, but Muji clearly hasn't been too discouraged by what he's seen from Justin Fields through the first 4 years of his career. Fields was 4-2 as a starter in Pittsburgh, combining for 10 touchdowns and just 1 interception in those 6 games. This isn't sexy, but the Jets, they needed a quarterback, and now they have a quarterback. The Cardinals improved one of their biggest weaknesses by signing edge rusher and Super Bowl champion Josh Sweat to a 4-year, $76.4 million deal. Sweat was arguably the best available edge defender to be a free agent. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson is available, but that's via a trade. Sweat had 66 pressures last season. He notched 2.5 sacks in the Super Bowl and gets to reunite with his former defensive coordinator, current Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon. This is a necessary and nice move for the Cardinals. Now, maybe the most surprising move of the day was the Houston Texans trading away left tackle Laremy Tunsil to the Washington Commanders. Ah, yes, get rid of the best player on your offensive line after the consensus was C.J. Stroud struggled in his sophomore season because of poor offensive line play. The Commanders got Tunsil and a 4th-round pick and gave up a 2025 3rd and 7th round pick, plus a 2026 2nd and 4th round pick.
As good in pass protection as any left tackle in the game.
Now, Tunsil has allowed a pressure rate of just 3.3% since 2001, which is the 2nd best in the league, trailing only Tristan Wirfs, and he has received the 2nd best overall pass blocking grade from Pro Football Focus since 2022. This feels like an insanely favorable move for the Commanders to give the Rookie of the Year one of the best pass protectors in the game. But if Jaden Daniels has a sophomore slump, we'll just blame Laremy Tunsil. The Denver Broncos found themselves a demon at safety, signing former 49er Talanoa Hufanga to a 3-year deal worth $45 million. Hufanga has missed 17 games over the last 2 seasons due to injury. That's the concern. But in his last fully healthy season back in 2022, he picked off 4 passes, had 2 sacks, and was named a first-team All-Pro. I predict that he will never miss another NFL game due to injury ever again, and this is the smartest thing the Broncos have ever done. I'll have more on the Broncos in an episode tomorrow, but this is a great ad for the Broncos in an area of need. Let's close today's show, though, with the Seattle Seahawks, who traded Geno Smith and DK Metcalf and then signed quarterback Sam Darnold, who gets to reunite with Clint Kubiak as OC after a year together in San Francisco. Now, the deal is very similar to Baker Mayfield's from last year. It's 3 years worth close to $110 million with $55 guaranteed, which I think is a pretty fair deal for both sides, considering what Darnold showed for the first 16 games and what he failed to show for the last 2 games. Darnold is 8 years younger than Geno Smith, who's got a cap hit of $31 million in Vegas in 2025 and reportedly turned down an offer between $35 and $40 million per year from the Seahawks before he was traded to the Raiders. Now, the only question remaining at this point is, who is Sam Darnold going to throw to? Because DK is now a Steeler. He was dealt and smelt to Pittsburgh for a second-round pick. DK also gets a new 5-year, $150 million contract. That will make him the 5th highest-paid receiver in the NFL on a per-year basis. Pairing DK Metcalf and George Pickens means the Steelers have their gin and rum for their Long Island iced tea. Sign Aaron Rodgers, Pittsburgh, and you got your tequila, and you're one liquor away from having the greatest night of your life. And also the most regrettable morning of your life. I honestly believe we will see DK Metcalf and George Pickens physically assault each other on the field, fighting for an extra target in a game. Actually, I think it'll be good. Speaking of assault, this trade got Big Ben excited enough to put the helmet back on.
DK Metcalf on one side, GP on the other, Muth work in the middle, and I might need to throw my hat in the ring.
DK had stated that he wanted to play for a contender, preferably in warm weather, and an organization that had a stable quarterback situation. If that doesn't say the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't know what does.
DK hustling some. He is, man.
This is an interesting move for the Steelers, who are in QB limbo. My initial thought is that they had to make this move to appeal to a possible free agent quarterback, which now just leaves Aaron Rodgers or a possible Russell Wilson return. The Steelers will do anything and everything to avoid a rebuild. They're your one friend who refuses to leave the bar at 2 a.m. And you know what happens when you do that? You go home with the oldest, weirdest person in there. He's not weird, but the Steelers did sign a very old corner, Darius Slay. I broke down the Geno Smith trade for the Raiders Friday night, but the Raiders trading a third-round pick for the Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith is a move that surprised us, but with Pete Carroll in Vegas, it makes a lot of sense. I think the general consensus for the Seahawks was, why'd you do this? Geno Smith was a Jets quarterback who didn't work out but gave Seattle a few good years, and now they're hoping another former Jets quarterback gives them a few more good years. Geno Smith and Sam Darnold actually had very similar production last season, with the big outlier being touchdown passes for Sam Darnold. 14 more for Slingin' Sammy D, which is a lot. But even their sacks taken were nearly identical, 48 for Darnold, 50 for Geno, which is significantly more than you want your quarterback taking. I think both offensive lines actually performed comparably in pass protection. The Seahawks allowed 253 quarterback pressures and the Vikings 246, and after Christian Darrisaw was injured, their flaws on the interior of that Vikings line showed. The huge difference, obviously, is Sam Darnold will have significantly less in terms of weapons to throw to in Seattle. I find that more concerning than their offensive line at this point. For Geno and the Raiders, I love this move. It was a necessity and a third rounder for his services, a steal. It's kind of crazy though that the Raiders got Geno for basically what the Seahawks gave up for Sam Howell. I go back to this Mina Kimes tweet about Geno Smith mitigating poor offensive line play. When Denver traded for Russell Wilson, the narrative was Russ was struggling because of poor offensive line play. Seahawks fans, though, would have told you Russ was creating the sack problems by holding onto the ball too long. As Geno leaves, he kind of carries the inverse Russell Wilson narrative. Now, Geno isn't going to be like an elite quarterback for the Raiders, but he's solid as hell. For the Raiders, the upgrade is significant and allows them to do basically whatever they want with the number 6 overall pick in the draft. The Raiders definitely upgraded their quarterback position, and the Seattle Seahawks are hoping that this is essentially a lateral move now. Seattle now has 5 picks in the top 92 selections of the draft, and you better believe at least 1, if not 2 of those picks are going to be spent on wide receivers. Jackson Smith and Jigba reacted to the Geno trade about 2 hours after the news broke because he was apparently taking a nap. JSN basically woke up to an empty offense like the Will Smith meme. And after the DK trade, he probably became the Jaden Smith meme from Karate Kid.
I hate it here!
Regardless, JSN took a big step in year 2, and Seattle is going to have to rely on him even more going forward. Let me just say, Jack's on, Jack's off. Wait. Come on. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. And come back tomorrow. We'll have a Broncos free agency video, and then of course we'll have our winners and losers of all of NFL free agency a little later this week.